am so grateful that you're on the Gains for Girls podcast. It feels very timely talking to you now. We were just discussing off camera, and I've of course personally been following the state of Georgia, what you've got going on there. There are two fantastic bills moving forward through the Georgia legislature that would both of them would codify President Trump's executive orders to define sex-based words and keep women's sports female. One of them is SB 92, sponsored by Senator Dolezal, and the Riley Gaines Act, which is just the biggest honor ever, sponsored by Speaker Burns. So again, both fantastic bills. I wanted to ask you though, why in the world this comes to a shock to a lot of people that Georgia hasn't done this yet. This hasn't been a measure that's been done. So why in the world do you think it's taken this long for Georgia to bring these bills forward?
Well, great to be with you, Riley. It was good seeing you a couple weeks ago at the executive order at the White House, and just appreciate everything you're doing for women's sports. It's a great question. This is something that we were moved to do 2 years ago in the Georgia Senate, and obviously I'm the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Georgia, and my role is to preside over be the president of the Senate chambers, and we got it done. And for whatever reason, we were at the House vote, never could get the numbers there. But I think you helped inspire it, Riley, more than anything else. You came and testified there in the state of Georgia, and really put a face with the story behind what went on at Georgia Tech during the NCAA national championship swimming meets, and all the other things that's going on at the national level. I think the election of President Trump has given some of these weaker Republicans a little more confidence about wading into some of these cultural wars. But it should not have taken so long. But we're glad that what is moving forward. As you well know, Senator Greg Dolezal has done a lot of hard work on this issue. And we've been very passionate about it. So our version passed out of the Senate last week, and there will be a version coming out of the Senate. There'll be a version coming out of the House. But at the end of the day, it's going to get done, and we'll have you down and make sure that you get the needed credit, and we appreciate all your effort and what you've done for women's sports.
That's very kind. It's definitely been a collective effort, really spearheaded by leadership like you have shown, Speaker Burns, Senator Dolezal, all fantastic people who really on a personal level I love, and from a professional level that I really just admire. Georgia is a unique state as it pertains to this bill and these protections that ultimately will ensure women of opportunities, because it's almost like they've been protected under, but not necessarily codified through law. So
That's right.
What do you expect to happen with these bills, and how can we, as Georgians who listen to this and watch this, but I mean, really more broadly as the general public, how can we ensure they get to Governor Kemp's desk to sign?
I think the momentum is there, and I think it's going to happen. And you're right. Georgia is it's a unique place, but it's kind of it gives you a good feel for what the rest of the country is talking about here in Georgia. If you would have told me when I first got elected to the state senate a few years ago that we'd had to be waiting in culture wars here in Georgia, and really have to put some effort behind getting measures done, there's just our common sense measures that should have never really got into the mainstream limelight. But it's indicative of what has gone on nationally, where things like this, where there's it's boys and girls sports or whatever else, have been shoved down the American public's throat to make you, to force you into having to act on a measure like this and putting it in statute, because look, the last thing we want to do, I think you're probably like me, and 90% of the other people here in the country, you really if you date what people do day to day, it doesn't concern you nor it bothers you. But when you start having it shoved down your throat, and you look to be the one who is at fault for not believing in such measures like that, it makes it necessary, and that's what we moved to do, and all the help that you've given us so far has been great. it's going to get done. It's going to get on the governor's desk and get signed. And we just greatly appreciate. I'd like to tell you, let's come and lobby and all this other kind of stuff, but I think all the hard work's been done, and it's just a matter of having the respective floor debates and then voting them out. So
We'll certainly be watching and cheering you on, and definitely keeping the pressure there. You mentioned the unique political landscape of Georgia. I mean, I think of even the few past elections that we've had. If I'm not wrong, President Trump, he won Georgia in 2016, lost in 2020, won again in 2024. You have two Democratic U.S. senators, Republican majorities in the legislature, and of course, a Republican governor. I mean, what is the political environment in Georgia that has led to such big swings in election outcomes?
Sure. I mean, look, Georgia's always been very independent, minded state. I will tell you that. And we are, a very conservative state. But a lot of people. 2020, there was a lot of attention that was put on 2020 because of what happened with the presidential race and those U.S. Senate races. Now, I will tell you, there was a lot of questionable things that went on during the 2020 race, and we don't have to rehash those, but there were a lot of questionable things that went on during that race, not just here in Georgia but in other places, and I'm not afraid to talk about that. But Georgia, I think, it's shown illustrated that it is a red leaning state just based on the 22 cycle and this 24 cycle. In 22 is when I was running for lieutenant governor. Every one of our constitutional offices were retained by Republicans. We had a very close Senate race between Herschel Walker and Warnock, and Herschel almost got him there in the end, but he was unable to. But I think in 26, you're going to see a very popular administration. I think you're going to see an opportunity for us to take that U.S. Senate seat back. And then also in the governor's race, I think we will retain the governor's seat as well. But it doesn't change the fact that, Georgia can have a little independent streak about it.
That's it. Yeah, you mentioned Senator Warnock, Reverend Warnock, which I speak for myself when I say that I believe Reverend to be a bit of a stretch. They will both have to vote soon, I imagine, on a fairness and women's sports bill
Sure.
in the U.S. Senate. Both of these senators, both Georgia senators, they failed the Stand With Women scorecard by voting against even allowing a vote to be taken on this same bill last year. So, I mean, what do you expect of their votes? Of course, this is an issue that you've seen at the local, state, and federal level. Definitely not among the general public, but again, at least in terms of elected representation, it's been pretty partisan. Do you expect their votes to fall in line with that of Democratic Party values?
You know, that's a great question. Quite frankly, I think you might have a split vote. Tell you the truth, I could see definitely Ossoff. With him coming up in 26 and him trying to really thread the needle on being the middle of the road moderate Democrat, which he's not, but he is at least playing that role right now. I can see him voting for it, and I can see Warnock voting against it. This ought not even be a question, quite frankly. I mean, like I said, this goes back to it's just a common sense issue that the Democrats seem to. We actually had two Democrats that broke with their leadership and voted with us on your bill last week in the Senate. And so there are a few people who are breaking away on the Democratic side from this issue, but there's a lot of them, particularly in Democratic leaderships, is doubling down on this issue. Look, if they want to double down on it, I welcome that because it weakens the individuals and it weakens the party as well. And these issues, several other ones who are big issues in the eyes of the American public. Like I said, if they want to keep doubling down on these type of culture wars, and then it might be a long time before they get back into a position of power.
That's the truth. The only people that it has proven to be effective for their tactics of doubling down are, I would say, conservatives, or really, again, common sense everyday Americans. And you mentioned these issues that really shouldn't be issues. I was so disheartened to see Senator Warnock's vote on the Laken Riley Act. Of course, from his state where this tragedy occurred. So really horrific things. Last question for you. Governor Kemp, he's serving his last term as Georgia's 83rd governor. So I wanted to ask you, what does the gubernatorial in 2026 in the state of Georgia look like? Can we potentially see a Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones run for governor?
Oh yeah, the possibility is definitely there. I've just been telling everybody that I was going to get through this legislative session because obviously there's going to be a lot. If I make that jump, there's going to be so many guys. Seven, five or six, seven, eight guys could be many. Who knows that will try to run for the lieutenant governor spot, and there'll be more people who will get into that governor's race. But yeah, if I'll make a decision, a final decision in the coming months, but I am going to get finished with legislative session in April. Take the wife and kids on a little spring break and chit chat about it a little bit because it is a big decision. But I'm one of those. I love the state of Georgia and I love what's going on right now in the state of Georgia, and I position myself in a leadership role. And I think if given the opportunity, fit that next role pretty well as well. And so we'll look at it. And hey, look, when I get ready to announce Riley, I just need you to come down here because you got a bigger fan base than what I do here in the state. So I just need you down here to help kick off the campaign for us when and if we get ready to pull that trigger.
Hey, well, I'll speak totally selfishly when I say I would love to see a Burt Jones run for governor.
Thank you.
So just very grateful for you. We'll continue to amplify and cheer you on. Of course, we're going to be following both bills, SB 92, and of course the Riley Gaines Act,
Mm-hmm.
as they hopefully get on Governor Kemp's desk to sign into law. So thank you for everything. We're just very grateful for you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we're going to get them done. We want to have you down to, help celebrate, women's athletics and us defending women athletics. I've just wondered where all the feminists has been. I can remember the Title IX fights, and they have been very quiet on this one, and that's
You and
kind of
me both.
disheartening. Yeah.
You and me both. When I find out, I'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good. Good to be with you, and good seeing you, and best of luck in the near future.
You rock. Thank you.